Let's see, Lisa McCorkle purchased her new automobile for $45,000 with a $5,000 down payment. And financed the rest with an installment loan for 72 months at an annual percentage rate of 6%. 72 months. APR was equal to 6%. Find Lisa's A, monthly payment, B, total amount repaid, and C, finance charge. Let's look at the table on page A13. And see if we have numbers that will work for this table. Monthly payment on simple interest installment loan of $100. They don't, do they? Start at 8. Okay, so we got to use the formula. Now, so let's start finding, first before we start worrying about things, let's find these three variables. Our principal, and then our what? Our rate per period, and then our N, which is our number of total payments. Now, what is our principal? Now it costs $45,000, and we put how much down on it? It's 45,000 minus what? Which gives us what? That is your principal. So that's our P. R. R is what? Our annual percentage rate. Correct? Our annual percentage rate divided by the number of payments per what though? By all the payments we're going to make, or by the number of payments per what? Per year. So our APR is what? 6%. I write that as point what? Divided by, no, how many payments are we going to make per year? 12. So that's what you're going to put in for R. N is the what? Number of total payments we're going to make. Well, if we're paying monthly installments and we're going to pay this off in 72 months, how many payments are we going to make? 72. So these are our numbers to put into our formula. I'm just going to put MP for monthly payment. Zoom back a little bit. So the first thing that goes here is what? P, and then we multiply that times whatever R is. Then we ought to have parentheses and basically 1.00 plus whatever R is, all of that to whatever power, or to N. All of that over. I'm just writing it without anything in it. Is that it? Okay. Here goes what? P. So what goes in here? Here goes what? What is it? Or well, I'm just saying what it's R, right? Word of advice. Put this in as 0.06 divided by 12. Don't round anything until the end. What'll happen is you'll get some numbers off. Right here, this is R2, correct? So this is point what? 0.06 divided by 12. This is where N goes, and I'm taking it to this power, aren't I? So what goes up here? 72. Here, this is R again, so 0.06 divided by 12. And up here is N again, so that's 72. So now we've plugged all the values in. Really, the only difficulty we really have here is putting this all correctly into our what? Calculator. Okay. As a rule, I always think it's good to work inside out. So, with your calculator, we'll go back up here and work a little inside out. Let's see, I am going to do this part. So I am going to say, I'm going to go 0.06 divided by what? 12. See what I get there. I get that, 0.005. And sometimes it'll come up, if it comes up nice and easy like that, yeah, put 0.005 in. But it won't always do that. You know, sometimes it'll be a really ugly number. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to add what to it? 1. Now here's the point where I've got to do something different. Here's where I need to take this number to the 72nd power, and you're going to use, most of your calculators will say y to the x. That means you're taking it to that power. So I'm taking 1.005 to the what? 72nd power. Close your parentheses. That equals what? Okay. Now, I'm going to write this down here. I understand that a lot of you are probably good enough on your calculator to, you know, not have to write this part down, but just in case. So now we're going to multiply these two things, right? $40,000 times, well, this was 0.005, wasn't it? Okay. Now, here's the nice thing. Is this thing the exact same as this thing? Will it always be? Huh? Yes, it will, because if you look at the formula, what's down here right here is the exact same thing as that, isn't it? Does everyone agree? So you really only have to put that into your calculator once, because you can come down here and put what? 1.432044278.5 minus 1.00. So now it's a matter of just figuring out what's on top, what's on bottom. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to multiply it times what? This number here, I'm going to multiply it times what? 0.005. Then I'm going to multiply it again times what? 40,000. I get 286.4088556983. Well, what's on the bottom? 1 point what? 4, 3, 2, 0, 4, 4, 2, 785 minus 1 is equal to, well, you get 0.4320442785. So now you just need to divide those two. And I'll do this where you'd have to do it in one step right after this. But I'm just wanting to kind of show the correct order of operations for those of you that might be a little rusty on that stuff. 286.4088. What's next? 556,983 divided by 0.4320442785. What's the monthly payment? $0.92. because it's a 5. Now, going back to the start here, you could have, believe it or not, and I don't know, maybe if I turn this light off, it won't. Maybe if I turn the brightness down on my phone a little bit, it won't be so overexposed. Yeah, that didn't help. Okay, how you could do this either in one step or you could figure out all the top is you could just figure this number out, do what we did before, which I would go 1 plus parentheses 0.06 divided by 12, close parentheses, and that. Then I'd take that to the what? 72nd power equals that. Then I would say times 0.005 times 40,000 equals that. Okay, then divide it by. Now you got to use parentheses here. Okay. Here's where remembering that one right there might be handy, and go 1.4320442,785 minus what? 1, close parentheses. Okay? That's having to write a lot less down. And believe it or not, you could have put all of this into the calculator, but that'd be a pretty big challenge to get the parentheses right. I'm just telling you. And if you have a graphing calculator, it's easier to see than it is right here too. And that's the other thing. When you use the graphing, if you have one of the graphing calculators or you have a scrolling calculator, you see this isn't doing that great a job because it's not showing it as you write it. You know what I mean? Or it's showing it in one line, which can be confusing. But if you have a graphing calculator, you can simply just put all this in here and just make sure if you put your parentheses right here, really, and use brackets if you want, really it's like that. Okay, that's how it needs to be. You guys understand? Remember that? This is all one big multiplication problem, so that's one term, but here you have two terms. You need to make sure you have to have something around that. Okay, because basically this is one big multiplication problem here. You multiply all that, and then you divide it by this binomial. Remember, two terms? So you can just run into problems sometimes with that. I don't know, the technology is a lot better nowadays. When I was in college, I had to remember how many I put in literally because the screen would just blink. You guys had, like an iPhone calculator, you know how you press times, it just blinks? You still had parentheses there? But I had to remember how many parentheses I put in and which one I did right. You almost had to have it memorized here because it's not going to show up on the screen. I always found it better that I just would do kind of pieces at a time and write it out like that. But one thing, if you do it like this, the biggest thing to remember is, we're talking about taking something to the 72nd power, and there's a number as big as 40,000, a number as small as 0.005. You need to, just to be safe, you need to take that thing out a lot of decimal places. Yeah, you could have probably, maybe 4 or 5 in here, and you probably would have got the same answer. But you'd be amazed at how easy it is to mess that up and everything. So, okay, we got that part. Now let's do part B. It says everything else should be pretty easy. Amount repaid. Well, that's going to be 662.92 times what? How many? How many payments are we going to make? How much are you paying for? How much, and this is always good. I really like this section because it shows you guys, some people don't really realize how much you actually pay for a $45,000 vehicle. 662.92 92 times 72. See, that's why interest rates are so great right now. That's how much money did they make off your money right there?
About 2700.
Yeah. Your finance charge is how much you paid, right? Minus how much you borrowed, which was what? So $7,730.24. To borrow that money, you paid almost $10,000, didn't you? Now, in 72 months, how many years is that? It's a 6-year loan. So you're paying, in the long run, it averages to about 1,200, almost 1,300 a year. $1,300 a year to borrow that money. That's not terrible, because I mean, how many of us? There's very few people out there that have $45,000 sitting around to buy a vehicle. Agreed? And there's very few that have $10,000 sitting around to buy a vehicle. But those, and that's kind of, this is kind of the concept behind it. You hear people say, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And it's not like it's some evil thing. What it is that this person that has a bunch of money saves $7,730.24 by paying for that thing in cash. You know what I mean? Or financing it to get the rebate and then paying it off 2 months, 3 months later. Because a lot of times a lot of the car companies, they make money as much, they want you to finance it through them. They get as much money off that as they do anything else. That's a big deal. So if you finance through them, I know when I brought my truck, I had to finance through them to get the $5,000 or whatever it was rebate. So I did. And then, but I had a trade-in that almost paid for all of it. And my wife's father had just passed away, and we had a little left to him. We just paid off the rest of it. Okay. By borrowing money at a lower percentage rate, where I could get a lower percentage rate through USAA, and refinanced it through them and paid it off. Because I got, 3.5 for through them, and I think I was getting 4.5 or 5, but I just started the loan through them to get the money off. So, but the person that's got all this money sitting around, they'll finance and get the $5,000 off, paid off the first month. They only paid finance charges for 1 month. You know what I mean? So they only paid $500 to, whatever it is. Because your first payments are almost all interest and finance charges. Like that first $662.92 payment is pretty much, for a while, all you're doing is paying off, for 7,730, 3024, you're just paying off interest. So, okay. So that's why if you can ever be a person who's frugal and can put money aside, even just to make a bigger down payment when you're going to buy something, to try to think ahead. I wish I was better at that. I'm sitting here teaching this, and I'm bad. I have to finance everything because I'm paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I got 4 kids, and I'm a teacher. But but this is something that I need. I need to be able to finance things and be smart with it and do that. And but if you're ever able to put that money aside, it's by doing that, you're putting money into your account. You don't realize it if you were going to do it anyway. The lady that bought our old house, she doesn't ever finance anything. She just started her life like that, and I think she may have gotten inheritance. Plus, she doesn't think she has a pretty good job. But she just started that in her mind, and pretty much now she's gotten to a point in her life where she's got enough money put back in investments, whether it's a rent house or things like that, to where she paid cash for the house she bought from us. So if you're talking a 30-year loan on a $25,000 house, that's a lot of money she saved by doing that. But let's face it, how many of us have 125 gorges to go? But I mean, she was smart. I give it up to her. She's there's not many people out there like that, but it's pretty neat. So anyway, your assignment